Our next presenter is Jan Rykr. Jan works for Jacobs in the Brisbane office and is a spatial analyst there. He is trained in GIS with a focus on cartography, and he has been incorporating graphic design principles and lately also FME into his map work. Jan was introduced to FME in 2014 while working in the New South Wales government, and since then he has implemented the use of FME on various assignments, including mapping native titles for the Queensland government, mapping Australian outback tracts, and providing support to construction projects across Australia. At Jacobs, he uses FME on a daily basis for routine data conversions and for building automated scenarios. I would welcome Jan, who will be talking about minimal cartography. And over to you, Jan.
So yeah, I will sort of run through some logic, show some examples, and run a little scenario in the end. So let's get started. So I'd like to begin the presentation with a simple question, which is, can FME be used to make maps? I guess some of you or most of you will know that we have obviously the built-in functions to create some sort of maps, which will be PDF styler, PDF writers. We have a few different options on writing PDFs, writing static imagery, including PNG writers, JPEG, TIFFs. We also have the options to write web maps using the Mapbox vector tiles and different platforms as well. So I guess the answer to this question is yes. Another question I have here, can FME make good-looking maps? Now, I come from the cartography and graphic design background, so I'm really, really picky on what I consider a good-looking map. So in short, good-looking map looks good, has a bit of a wow effect, and also really works in delivering the message to the end user. So that's what makes good map and good-looking map. Now, FME standardly FME doesn't have any of the fancy tools like a GIS software has, let alone graphic design software such as gradients, shadows, flares, the options on really touching each element of our design. So yeah, FME doesn't have that, but if we really dig deep enough within the FME functionality, I think we'll be able to find all of those if we tried enough, but we don't really have to. And I think I can still say yes to this question. So FME can make good-looking maps. And if you ask how, if I dig deep, or let's say if I stay within the functionality or the capabilities of FME, I can use the logic, or let's say the concept of minimalism, in order to create good-looking maps, all within the functions of FME. Now, if you ask what minimalism is, it's sort of an art movement which started some time ago, probably 1970s or much earlier. You will see the elements, or let's say influence of minimalism in architecture, any sorts of visual arts, music, interior design as well. And what minimalism basically does, it removes all unnecessary content unless the user focuses on a single element to deliver a message of design or information or anything like that. Now, the basic principles are using or the use of simple geometric shapes, the use of simple colors, limited color palettes, and bold typography. So yeah, in short, really removing everything that's necessary to deliver a message. Let's say a mapping message. I will get to it later. Yeah, bold typography, Helvetica font, Swiss font, Arial as well. Now, if you sort of bring this to cartography, you can sort of think about it as removing all noise to let users to only focus on the important message of a map. what I say no, it would be too many colors, too much type, too much font, too much information on the map, which will result into overwhelming the user with too much information, and you can't really see the most important part of it. In practice, this could be reducing marginalia, reducing background content in a map, and really focus on what the data has to say. If I can give you some tips, you can also use your data to tell the message. You don't really need any background, just use the geography, spatial representation of your data to it. And if you end up making maps in FME, you can keep it super simple, but pay attention to detail. And the detail would be in the font type. You can use fancy font type. You can go to any custom font in FME. You can download whatever you want from the internet and bring it back to FME, put it on your layout. And same with the colors. So FME will allow us to use full RGB palette. So we can use any of the colors, but yeah, be careful. Don't use too many. Let's say monochromatic maps will perfectly do. You have two colors. Something you can add one extra accent color to really pop up a message or really emphasize something that you wanted to. Yeah, so that's in short about the theory. Now let's have a look at some examples. Now, this one, probably if you have seen this map, super simple. You must have seen it dozens of times on corporate website or flyers or whatever, where companies try to show they do business globally. And you can easily do this in FME. It's all it is. We can bring in elevation service from NASA or GEPCO as a raster. We can extract the elevation information to our points. And then we can filter out everything that's above 0, buffer it slightly so it doesn't overlap too much, and that's it. We give it a bit of a color, 2 colors, and that's all it is. We have a map that we can use in a website header or screensaver if you want. So that was really simple one. Let's have a look at another one. It's a bit more complicated, but a bit of a layout here. Yeah, super simple map. Great Keppel Island, just off Queensland coast. Has a beautiful sort of a landscape or the terrain. So this was an idea to sort of try out a half-tone method, which is a really, really old method using graphic design. And if you look closely, there's still only 2 colors on this one. It's black and orange. That's all there is. And the effect of the sort of different hues of orange color you will see in the terrain, it's basically the half-tone effect, which looks something like this. Basically, we have at each point of the elevation or the hill shape sort of value, and that's what it is. If you look closer here, it's basically that each point is actually a little cross. It's just a little sequence of few buffers, and that's all it is. Now, if we have a look at the next one, it's a little bit more complicated, but again, so basically it's only the data. There's no background here again, and like I said before, we can totally remove the background content from the map to really let the user focus on the actual data or the information that the data tries to tell. So we have sort of point layers of businesses, or just one layer, points representing businesses in Greater New York area, and we sort of visualize them on when or each hour of the day or week they are open. And it's a super simple sort of exercise. It's not that simple, but the message is simple. The map is simple. We have one sort of a title, and that's what it is. Bit of a heat map effect, and that's what it is. Just the images in the upper corner, and the map says it all. Yeah. If you look closely on the data, which will tell us the geography, which is highlighting the depending on where they are in the scale, and obviously the center of the map will be downtown Manhattan, where is the highest concentration of businesses that are close. You can see where it's shining pretty much constantly. Now, so that was a few examples I had here. Now, if we want to have a look at our next slide, let's do a quick exercise. So let's think about a way how we can make good-looking world maps. So let's start taking in the blue marble image from NASA WMS, which is a super simple WMS reader in FME, and it will give us something like this. It's looking pretty good. If I just quickly jump into the FME workbench, we have one reader, just replace this to make sure it works, and that's what it was. So we have beautiful image. Now, if you wanted to add some data to it later on, this would be a notch too busy for using as a background map. So we will wash it out a little and we'll add some effects. Now, I find a good or good looking color scheme that I would like to apply. So let's say we have these two greenish or blue-green colors that we will use in the background. Now, and then we have these red color that we will use as our feature color for actual data. Now, if we run this through a mapping rasterizer, it will give us something like this. So what it is, this is a really simple old trick used in graphic design called tinting. So how we can replicate it in FME. If I jump back to my workflow, so basically in this part here, you replace bounding box from the extent of our raster. If we feed it into mapping rasterizer as a mask with a huge amount of transparency, and this is the result. Now, unfortunately, we lost a bit of a positional accuracy here, so we don't know where countries are, where borders are, and so on. So we will fix it in the next, and we will add countries from shapefile from nature of Earth and a little grid. So there's these parts here. So grid, we can use the same extent from our blue marble. And as for natural Earth, we use countries in the shapefile. And again, if you do mapping rasterizer, we will use the same green color for the line types. And with just applying different amount of transparency, we will achieve something like this. Now, this is looking quite good already. So you can use this on desktop, or you can put it on a bedroom wall if you're feeling fancy. But this is a good background for a sort of thematic spatial map. We can now put some data onto it. And what better data set to use right now than COVID-19 data set from the Johns Hopkins University. Great data set, all credits goes to those guys. So what we can do, yeah, it's basically, let's say here, so the data set will come with cumulative values for the number of cases in each country of the world being captured. But for the spatial distribution, it's quite powerful. So we will bring each point and we will buffer it by the amount of the cumulative cases in each country or state. And that's pretty much what it looks like here. And this is a pretty much proportional symbol map. So even though FME won't have any functions to do any cartographic sort of representations, we can definitely replicate any of those functions by using the standard functions such as the buffer, and that's all it is. Now, this is looking pretty good already. Let's give it some marginalia here. We will give it title, legend, and some text around it. And that will look like this. So we have a strong title using sort of a bold typography, strong message here. And then depending on the importance of a message, we can sort of use different font colors or different font sizes, and we can generate a bit of a legend here as well. And that's what it is. Yeah, it's a simple map. We don't need not arrow, we don't need scale because it's a global scale. Everyone's seen the world before. Yeah, simple. Now, if you want to go one step further, you can create an animation from daily values. So to do animations in FME, it's actually fairly simple. So for this one, we'll just, for an aid to the end user, you'll add a little timeline at the bottom of the map. So we removed all the values. We feed it into our Matnik rasterizer again. We create a timeline at the bottom of the map, which is basically just 2 points in space, which we have assigned by a creator in FME, and we choke the line by the number, or let's say by the number of days we have, and then we assign a value or name of a day or date to each of the points. Now, if we jump to the next slide, we can sort of bring animation. And yeah, so basically to create something like this, we can bring in one more mapping rasterizer and use the background image that we created on the slide before as a background in the new mapping rasterizer. And into that one, we also feed all the data that we want, and we will use the group by function to create an image for each day. And that's essentially what it is, animations in FME. To do that, sort of, we have to think about animation as basically a sequence of images that we later on merge in FFmpeg, which could be called from system caller, which is a third-party sort of a open source 3 extension for creating videos and doing all sorts of shenanigans in imagery and moving images and videos and creating animations like this. So yeah, that's in short from me, and I'll go back to Andrea. So thanks for the attention, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Jan. Very informative. Any questions for Jan?
Yes, we've got a couple of questions here. Bob has asked, could you use FME to test if the map you're producing is appropriate for people who are colorblind?
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, those maps that I've just done, it hasn't been taken care of in sort of a spec, but absolutely, I think, yeah, definitely there's potential to do so.
Okay, thank you. Another one, Mike has asked, have you got any ideas about incorporating scale bars or fractional scales using FME?
Yeah, okay. So scale bar is possibly doable. Yeah, it could be a sequence of creators.
Yep.
And buffers, I would assume. So yeah, there'll be something like I did with the time slider on the animation. Yeah, I can think of it quickly. Yeah, create a buffer, create a point, buffer it by, or using a geographic buffer part as well. That will give us the value from, or for a cell, or let's say a section of the scale bar, and then label start and end point. Bit of a manual input there, but
yeah,
definitely doable.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan, again, and thank you, Tom, for getting those questions and comments through.